The first thing Ethan Walker notices is the smoke. Not the cabin. Not the snow piled chest high along the forgotten mountain road. Smoke. Thin. Gray. Rising steadily from the chimney of a house abandoned for 10 years. His truck skids slightly on the icy gravel as he kills the headlights and stares through the windshield, every muscle in his body locking at once. The cabin should have been dead. The roof had collapsed years ago. The windows were boarded shut before he ever left Montana. No electricity. No neighbors within 15 miles. And yet smoke curls upward into the blizzard-dark sky, like someone inside is keeping warm. Ethan steps out slowly, boots sinking deep into fresh powder. The cold bites instantly through his jeans, sharp as broken glass. Wind drags pine needles across the frozen ground with a dry, whispering sound that reminds him too much of radio static overseas. Somewhere deeper in the woods, a loose metal sign clangs against rusted chain. Once, then silence again. His breath hangs white in the air as he reaches for the pistol under his coat out of instinct more than fear. The cabin sits exactly where memory left it, crouched beneath towering black pines at the edge of Widow Creek. Smaller than he remembers. Sadder too. One side of the porch has partially collapsed. Snow leaks through holes in the roof. The old wooden swing his brother Noah built hangs crooked, creaking faintly in the wind. But there are tracks. Fresh ones. Ethan narrows his eyes. Not human. Large paw prints circle the porch in slow, uneven patterns before disappearing around the side of the cabin. He follows them cautiously, pulse beginning to throb behind his ribs. The smell reaches him before the sight does. Wet fur. Wood ash. Old blood. Then he sees the dog. A German shepherd sits motionless beside the porch steps, half covered in snow. Massive once, but painfully thin now beneath the thick sable coat faded silver with age. One ear torn at the tip. Frost clinging to his whiskers. Amber eyes fixed directly on Ethan like they never stopped waiting for him. Ethan freezes. Rex. The dog does not bark. Does not run forward. That is what unsettles him most. 10 years ago Rex would have knocked him flat trying to reach him. But now the old K9 only stares, chest rising slow beneath the storm, as though measuring whether Ethan deserves to be here at all. A knot tightens deep in Ethan's stomach. He takes another step. Rex immediately rises and blocks the cabin door. Not aggressive. Deliberate. The shepherd plants himself squarely in front of the entrance, shoulders stiff despite the tremor in his aging legs. Snow swirls violently between them. Ethan feels something colder than winter slide slowly down his spine. What the hell are you guarding? The dog's eyes flick briefly toward the cabin door. Then back to Ethan. Almost human. Almost accusing. Wind rattles the loose shutters overhead. Ethan suddenly notices something else. The porch lantern beside the door is lit. Dim, flickering weakly behind cracked glass. His heartbeat stumbles. Impossible. He steps closer to inspect it, and the smell of kerosene cuts through the pine air. Fresh kerosene. Somebody lit that lantern recently. But there are no other tracks besides Rex's. None. Not a single human footprint anywhere around the cabin. The storm has been falling for hours. Ethan slowly reaches toward the lantern. Rex releases a low growl. Deep. Warning. The same growl that once saved Marines from buried explosives outside Fallujah. Ethan pulls his hand back automatically. Silence settles again except for the storm hissing through the trees. Then, from somewhere inside the cabin, comes a sound. One knock. Soft. Hollow. Directly beneath the floorboards. Ethan's face drains of color. Rex turns his head slowly toward the door without moving his body. Another knock follows. 3 short taps this time. Then nothing. The old shepherd lowers himself heavily onto the porch, eyes never leaving Ethan. Snow gathers across his scarred back, while the lantern flickers beside them both like a dying pulse. And for the first time in 10 years, Ethan Walker realizes the cabin may not have been abandoned after all. The third knock never comes. Only the wind. Ethan stands frozen on the porch while snow swirls sideways through the trees, stinging his face like icy sand. Rex remains planted before the cabin door. Old chest rising slow beneath the storm, eyes locked on Ethan with an intensity that feels less like recognition and more like judgment. Somewhere far off in the mountains, thunder rolls low across the sky. Ethan exhales shakily and forces himself to move. Move, boy. His voice sounds weaker than he intended. Rex does not budge. Ethan steps carefully around him and grips the rusted doorknob. The metal is ice cold against his palm. For one strange second, he expects resistance from the other side. Another knock. Another sound. Something. But when he twists the knob, the door creaks inward slowly, releasing a breath of stale air thick with dust, ash, damp wood, and something older beneath it all. Something trapped. The flashlight beam from Ethan's coat cuts across the darkness. Cobwebs hang from the ceiling beams like gray curtains. Snow has drifted through broken windows and melted into black stains across the warped floorboards. The old cast-iron stove sits crooked near the wall, covered in rust. A cracked coffee mug still rests beside it exactly where Noah left it a decade ago. Ethan's throat tightens unexpectedly. Some places do not forget people. They hold them. He steps inside slowly, boots groaning against the floor. Behind him, Rex enters at last. Not beside Ethan. Behind him, watching the room, watching the corners. The old dog moves carefully now, favoring one back leg. Yet every few seconds his ears twitch toward the floor beneath them. Ethan notices immediately. "You hear it too, huh?" Rex does not respond. The lantern light outside flickers weakly through the cracked doorway while Ethan sweeps his flashlight across the room again. Then the beam catches something strange near the fireplace. A line carved into the wood floor. No, not one line. Many. Deep scratches. Parallel marks cut hard into the boards as though something heavy had been dragged repeatedly across the same spot for years. Ethan crouches slowly. His gloved fingers brush against the grooves. Fresh. Not old dust-covered damage. Fresh enough that loose splinters still cling to the edges. His pulse quickens. "What have you been doing in here?" Rex suddenly releases a sharp, low whine from across the room. Ethan turns instantly. The shepherd stands near the far wall beside Noah's old bookshelf. Most of the shelves collapsed years ago, spilling mold-covered books across the floor. But one shelf remains untouched. Perfectly clean. No dust. No cobwebs. Nothing. Ethan narrows his eyes and walks toward it slowly. Every instinct in his body starts tightening at once. Rehook. Because sitting directly in the center of that spotless shelf is a ticking wristwatch. Ethan stops breathing for a moment. The old silver military watch glints faintly beneath his flashlight beam. Tick, tick, tick. Working perfectly. Impossible. He recognizes it instantly. Noah bought that watch outside Kandahar during their second deployment. The crystal face had a crack near the number 7 where Ethan accidentally dropped it during a supply run. The crack is still there. His stomach turns cold. 10 years. No battery could last 10 years. Yet the second hand moves steadily beneath the dusty silence of the cabin. Tick, tick, tick. Rex backs away slightly, ears flattening. Ethan reaches out carefully and lifts the watch from the shelf. Warm. The metal is warm in his hand. Not from the room. From recent contact. Someone touched this recently. His flashlight trembles now. Underneath the watch sits a folded piece of paper yellowed with age. Ethan unfolds it slowly. 3 words written in faded black ink. He knows now. Ethan's blood runs cold. "Noah," he whispers automatically. The cabin answers with silence. Then suddenly Rex spins toward the hallway and begins growling deep in his chest. Not loud. Worse than loud. Controlled. Focused. Ethan swings the flashlight toward the dark hallway leading deeper into the cabin. At first he sees nothing except peeling wallpaper and shadows stretching long across the floor. Then the beam lands on muddy footprints. Human footprints. Fresh. Wet snow still melting around the edges. One pair only, leading down the hallway toward the back room. But there are no tracks leading back out. Ethan slowly reaches for the pistol beneath his coat again. The floor creaks softly somewhere deeper in the cabin. One step, then another. Not imagination this time. Rex lowers his body close to the floor, lips twitching slightly over aging teeth. The old shepherd's eyes remain fixed on the darkness ahead, while the watch in Ethan's trembling hand continues ticking softly through the silence like a countdown neither of them understands yet. The footsteps stop somewhere beyond the dark hallway. Ethan keeps the pistol raised with both hands now, breath shallow, flashlight beam trembling faintly across the peeling walls. Rex inches forward beside him, shoulders tight, old claws scraping softly against warped wood. The cabin groans under the weight of the storm outside. Snow hammers the roof harder now. Wind forces itself through cracks in the walls with a long, hollow whistle that almost sounds human in the dark. Ethan takes another step, then another. The muddy footprints continue straight down the narrow hallway toward Noah's old bedroom at the back of the cabin. Fresh water still glistens around the edges. Whoever made them cannot be far ahead. Yet there is something wrong. Ethan's pulse spikes as he notices the spacing. Uneven. One deep print. One lighter. Like someone limping. The exact same limp Noah carried after taking shrapnel in Helmand Province 14 years ago. Ethan stops cold. His mouth goes dry instantly. No. The flashlight shakes harder now. Memories begin clawing upward whether he wants them or not. Noah stumbling through desert dust with blood soaking his pant leg. Noah laughing through pain beside a campfire overseas. Noah saying quietly one night, "If anything ever happens to me, do not trust official reports." Ethan swallows hard and forces the memory away. Not now. Rex suddenly releases a sharp bark toward the back room. One bark only. Urgent. Ethan moves faster. The hallway narrows until his shoulders nearly brush both walls. The smell changes too. Less dust. Less rot. A faint trace of cigarette smoke lingering beneath the damp wood. Recent. Someone has been inside this cabin within hours. Then Ethan sees light. Very faint. A dull amber glow leaking beneath Noah's bedroom door. His stomach twists violently. The room should not have power. Every instinct screams at him to leave, to turn around, to drive back down the mountain before whatever waits inside reaches him first. But another feeling pushes harder now. Guilt. 10 years heavy and poisonous inside his chest. 10 years of unanswered phone calls. Of avoided memories. Of pretending Noah simply disappeared because facing the alternative hurt too much. Ethan reaches the door slowly. Rex stands directly beside him now despite the tremor in his aging legs. Snowmelt drips steadily from the shepherd's fur onto the wooden floor. The amber glow flickers beneath the crack again, then suddenly goes dark. Ethan's heartbeat nearly stops. Silence crashes over the hallway all at once. No footsteps. No breathing. Nothing. Then comes the sound. Tick, tick, tick. Not the watch this time. Louder. Mechanical. Coming from inside Noah's room. Ethan exchanges one glance with Rex before slowly pushing the door inward. The hinges groan softly. The flashlight beam sweeps across the room. Empty. At first glance, completely empty. The old bed frame remains tipped against the wall where Noah left it years ago. Snow drifts through a broken window onto the floorboards. Military photographs hang crooked beneath thick layers of dust. But in the center of the room sits a small battery-powered lantern glowing weakly beside an old tape recorder. Ethan's blood runs cold. The tape recorder is running. The reel spins slowly beneath a layer of static. Tick, tick, tick. Ethan lowers the pistol carefully and steps closer. Rex does not follow. The shepherd remains frozen at the doorway, ears flattened hard against his skull now. Afraid. Ethan has seen Rex charge gunfire overseas without hesitation. He has never seen the dog afraid before. Rehook. Ethan crouches beside the recorder. A fresh battery pack lies beside it, still warm to the touch. Someone set this up recently. Very recently. The static crackles louder suddenly. Then a voice emerges through the hiss. Weak. Distorted. But unmistakable. Noah. Ethan's entire body locks. If you are hearing this, static swallows the next few words. Means he finally came back. Ethan stops breathing. The voice continues unevenly through heavy interference. I did not have much time. They knew what I found. They knew about the shipments. About the names. If Rex is still there. The tape warps violently for a second. Do not let him down again. Ethan closes his eyes hard. The guilt hits like a physical blow. Rex lowers his head slowly near the doorway, watching Ethan in silence while snow and wind scream against the cabin outside. Then Noah's voice returns one final time through the static, quieter now, almost trembling. Ethan, if you are listening to this, why did it take you 10 years? The tape clicks off abruptly. Silence floods the room. Ethan stares at the recorder, unable to move, while the storm outside grows worse by the minute. The old mountain roads will be completely buried by morning. No signal. No way down the ridge. And somewhere inside the cabin, hidden beneath years of silence and snow, somebody still knows he came back. Ethan stares at the silent tape recorder while Noah's final question keeps echoing through the room like a wound reopening inside him. Why did it take you 10 years? The storm outside slams hard against the cabin walls, rattling the broken windows with sudden violence now. Snow blasts sideways through the cracks, swirling across the floorboards in pale, ghostly ribbons. Rex finally steps into the room at last, moving slower than before. The old shepherd lowers himself beside the tape recorder with a tired groan and rests his muzzle near Noah's faded army jacket hanging from the bedpost. Ethan notices it immediately. The jacket is clean. Too clean. No dust. No mold. Someone has been caring for it. The realization chills him deeper than the cold ever could. He kneels slowly beside Rex and touches the fabric. Dry? Recently handled. Who has been here? He whispers. Rex lifts his tired eyes toward the far wall of the bedroom. Ethan follows the dog's stare. At first he sees nothing except warped cedar boards and old water stains spreading like shadows across the wood. Then lightning flashes outside. For half a second, pale light cuts across the wall and reveals a thin vertical seam hidden between the planks. A hidden door. Ethan rises slowly, pulse hammering again. He steps toward it carefully while the cabin groans around them. The seam runs floor to ceiling behind an old dresser pushed tightly against the wall. Heavy, deliberately placed there. Ethan grips the side of the dresser and strains against it. The wood drags loudly across the floorboards inch by inch, releasing thick clouds of dust into the freezing air. Rex suddenly stands again behind him and releases a sharp, uneasy whine. Not warning. Fear. Ethan freezes halfway through moving the dresser. The old dog keeps glancing toward the windows now, toward the storm outside. Ethan listens carefully. At first there is only wind. Then another sound emerges beneath it. An engine. Very distant. Faint, but growing louder somewhere down the mountain road. Ethan's blood turns cold instantly. Nobody should be able to reach the cabin in this weather. Nobody except someone who already knew the road by heart. Rehook. The headlights appear seconds later through the storm beyond the trees. Two pale beams cutting slowly between the pines far below the ridge. Ethan instinctively kills the lantern inside the room. Darkness swallows the cabin except for brief flashes of lightning outside. Rex presses against Ethan's leg now, trembling slightly. The vehicle is climbing toward the cabin. Slow, careful, deliberate. Ethan's mind races violently. Leave now and risk losing whatever Noah hid here forever. Stay and possibly face whoever has been visiting the cabin all these years. The old guilt inside him claws harder than fear now. 10 years ago he left Noah behind because he was afraid of consequences. Afraid of truth. Afraid of losing the fragile life he still had after war hollowed both of them out. If he leaves tonight, then Noah dies abandoned a second time. Ethan closes his eyes briefly. Decision made. Not this time, he whispers. He finishes shoving the dresser aside. Behind it sits a narrow wooden door with an old brass handle darkened by age. No lock, just scratches around the frame. Deep scratches, like someone opened and closed it hundreds of times over the years. The engine outside grows louder now. Tires crunching slowly through snow maybe 200 yards away. Ethan grips the handle and pulls. The hidden door opens inward with a long, soft creak. A narrow staircase disappears into darkness beneath the cabin. Cold air spills upward immediately, carrying the smell of damp earth, kerosene, and something metallic underneath. Not decay. Something cleaner. Controlled. Ethan shines the flashlight downward. Footprints cover the wooden stairs. Fresh ones. Many of them this time. Some large. Some smaller. His pulse quickens harder. Somebody has been living down there. Recently. Very recently. Then his flashlight lands on the wall beside the staircase. Words carved directly into the wood. Do not let him see the files. Ethan's breath catches. Before he can process it, Rex suddenly growls low toward the front of the cabin. Not the hallway this time. Outside. Headlights sweep briefly across the broken windows as the unseen vehicle finally reaches the clearing. The engine cuts off. Silence crashes over the mountain all at once. Ethan grips the pistol tighter while snow hisses against the roof overhead. Then comes the sound that freezes both man and dog completely still. 3 slow knocks at the cabin's front door. The 3 knocks echo through the cabin slowly. Patient. Not loud enough to force entry. Worse than that. Familiar. Ethan feels the sound settle deep into his chest like an old battlefield instinct waking after years asleep. Rex backs toward the hidden staircase immediately, growling low beneath his breath while snow lashes violently against the windows. Another knock follows. Then silence again. Whoever stands outside knows Ethan is inside. Ethan moves quickly now, crouching beside Rex near the hidden doorway. Down, he whispers automatically. The old shepherd obeys at once despite the trembling in his legs. Ethan kills his flashlight, and the room falls into near darkness except for brief flashes of lightning leaking through the broken windows. The front porch creaks softly under shifting weight outside. One person, maybe more. Ethan listens carefully. Then comes a voice through the storm. Older. Calm. You should not have come back here, Ethan. Ethan's blood freezes instantly. He knows that voice. Sheriff Daniel Mercer. The same county sheriff who handled Noah's disappearance 10 years ago. The same man who looked Ethan in the eyes and told him there was nothing left to search for. Rex's growl deepens the moment the name hits Ethan's mind. Outside, Mercer speaks again through the wind. Roads are closing fast. Let me help you down the mountain before this storm gets worse. Ethan says nothing. Every word feels rehearsed. Too smooth. Too careful. Then lightning flashes across the room again, and Ethan notices something near the hidden staircase he missed before. A heavy green military storage crate pushed against the wall beneath, hanging cobwebs. Fresh scrape marks surround it. Recently moved. Rehook. Ethan carefully slides the crate open while Mercer continues speaking outside. You have been gone a long time, son. Some things are better left buried. Inside the crate sits row after row of folders sealed in plastic against moisture. Military shipping manifests. Satellite photos. Handwritten notes. Ethan's breathing quickens as he flips through them. Weapons shipments rerouted through civilian supply lines. Offshore account numbers. Names blacked out with marker. Then one folder stops him cold. Mercer County Sheriff Department. Ethan opens it with shaking hands. Photographs spill across the floorboards beneath the flashes of lightning. Grainy night photos of trucks arriving deep in the mountains years ago. Crates unloaded near Widow Creek. Men in sheriff uniforms standing beside military contractors. One photograph shows Noah in the background partially hidden behind trees, camera in hand. Ethan feels his stomach twist violently. Noah was never paranoid. He was right. Outside, the porch boards creak again. Ethan. Mercer's voice grows firmer now. Listen to me carefully. You do not understand what your brother got himself involved in. Rex suddenly lets out a sharp bark toward the front of the cabin. Ethan freezes. Headlights sweep briefly across the windows again. Another vehicle has arrived outside. Two engines now idle beneath the storm. Ethan moves to the cracked bedroom window carefully and peers through a narrow gap in the boards. Snow whips across the clearing in thick white waves, but he can still make out dark figures near the trucks below. 3 men. Heavy coats. Flashlights cutting through the storm. Not locals. They move too carefully. Too organized. Mercer stands near the porch alone beneath the falling snow, older now than Ethan remembers, silver hair visible beneath his hat. But his face carries something new tonight. Fear. Not anger. Fear. Ethan pulls back from the window slowly. Rex nudges Ethan's hand suddenly with his cold nose, then turns toward the hidden staircase again. Persistent. Urgent. Ethan understands immediately. Whatever Noah protected is downstairs. Whatever Mercer fears is downstairs too. Another loud knock rattles the cabin. This time harder. Ethan, Mercer says sharply. If they find those files before I explain everything, none of us are walking off this mountain. Ethan's pulse pounds harder. None of us. Not you. Us. Lightning flashes again and illuminates the photograph still lying across the floorboards beside Ethan's boot. Noah staring directly into the camera from 10 years ago. And standing beside him, partially cut off by the edge of the photo, is a young Rex wearing a K-9 service harness. But what freezes Ethan completely is the person standing behind them both. Sheriff Mercer. Smiling. Like family. Ethan slowly looks toward the front door while the storm roars louder outside. One question burns through his mind, now stronger than fear itself. If Mercer was helping Noah back then, who has been trying to keep the cabin silent all these years? The wind outside howls hard enough to shake the cabin walls now, but Ethan barely hears it anymore. His eyes remain fixed on the photograph in his trembling hand. Noah standing beside Rex 10 years younger. Sheriff Mercer smiling behind them both beneath the faded porch light of this very cabin. Not enemies. Not strangers. Partners. Family. Rex suddenly pushes his muzzle hard against Ethan's arm again, urgent now, almost desperate. Another heavy knock rattles the front door downstairs. Then Mercer's voice cuts through the storm sharper this time. Ethan, they are not here for you. They are here for what Noah left behind. Ethan looks toward the hidden staircase beneath the floorboards. The truth is shifting too fast now, pieces rearranging themselves into something darker than he imagined. Noah trusted Mercer once. Mercer covered up the investigation afterward. Yet fear in the old sheriff's voice sounds real tonight. Which means someone else has been pulling the strings all along. Ethan grabs the files and descends the narrow staircase with Rex limping close behind him. The wooden steps groan softly beneath their weight, while cold, earth-smelling air rises around them. The deeper they go, the warmer it becomes. Impossible warmth. Not natural. Then Ethan sees the light below. Soft yellow light flickering beneath the hidden basement door. Someone has electricity down here. His pulse pounds violently now. Rex stops halfway down the stairs and whines quietly. Ethan turns toward him. The old shepherd refuses to move farther. Fear trembles visibly through his scarred body. Ethan kneels beside him briefly and grips the thick fur around his neck. You stayed all this time, he whispers hoarsely. Whatever happened down there, you stayed. Rex presses his head against Ethan's chest for one brief fragile second before pulling away again. Then Ethan opens the basement door. The room below steals the air from his lungs. It is not a bunker. It is a hidden operations room preserved almost perfectly beneath the cabin. Metal shelves line the walls stacked with files, radios, old military hard drives, battery packs, maps covered in handwritten coordinates. A diesel generator hums softly in the corner feeding power through dangling extension cords. Dust covers some surfaces, but not all. Somebody has maintained this room carefully for years. At the center of it sits a corkboard filled with photographs. Ethan steps closer slowly. The photos span nearly a decade. Newspaper clippings, shipment records, military contractors, local officials, men Ethan recognizes from overseas security operations years ago. Some now dead, some promoted, some disappeared. Strings connect names across the board in red marker, like Noah spent years trying to expose something enormous. Then Ethan notices the final photograph pinned dead center. Himself. Ethan freezes. The picture shows him 3 months ago leaving a diner outside Billings. Another shows him sleeping inside his truck at a gas station. Another from 2 weeks ago crossing into Montana. Somebody has been tracking him long before he returned to the cabin. Rehook. Ethan's breathing grows shallow. Suddenly, the generator light flickers once. Then again, a soft crackle comes from an old radio sitting on the desk nearby. Static hisses through the room. Then a voice emerges. I knew you would come back eventually. Ethan spins instantly toward the sound. Noah's voice. Not from a tape this time. Clearer. Older. The radio crackles again. If you are hearing this live, it means Mercer finally brought you here. Ethan's knees nearly buckle. Live. Not recorded. The radio hums softly while the storm rages overhead. Ethan, do not speak yet. Just listen. Tears begin burning behind Ethan's eyes before he can stop them. 10 years. 10 years believing his brother dead. The voice continues unevenly through static. The people outside work for Grayson Holt now. Former defense contractor. He took over the operation after the military shut the program down. Mercer helped me hide the evidence. He protected this place all these years. Ethan grips the desk hard enough for his knuckles to whiten. Noah, where are you? Silence follows for 2 agonizing seconds. Then the answer comes quietly. Closer than you think. At that exact moment, Rex begins barking wildly behind Ethan for the first time all night. Not at the radio. At the far wall. Ethan turns sharply. One section of shelving stands slightly crooked away from the concrete behind it. Fresh scrape marks line the floor beneath. Ethan rushes forward and pulls the shelf aside with a harsh metallic groan. Hidden behind it is another door. Steel. Thick. Sealed from the outside. His blood runs cold instantly. A small sliding hatch sits at eye level, scratched heavily from within over many years. Ethan stares at it in disbelief. Then the radio crackles one final time. Noah's exhausted voice breaks softly through the static. Ethan, before you open that door, there is something you need to know about Rex. Silence falls. Then from behind the steel door comes the sound of slow human breathing. The breathing. Behind the steel door is shallow, human, real. Ethan stands frozen in the dim yellow basement light while the old radio hisses softly beside him. His mind fights against what his ears already know. 10 years. 10 years of grief, guilt, and silence collapsing inward all at once. Rex limps forward slowly until he stands directly beside the steel door. The old shepherd presses his muzzle gently against the scratched metal and releases a soft sound deep in his throat unlike any growl Ethan has ever heard from him before. Not warning. Relief. Ethan's hands shake violently now as he reaches toward the heavy locking wheel bolted into the door. Noah. His voice cracks apart on the name. The radio crackles weakly again. Listen to me first, Noah says through static, breathing uneven. Rex was never guarding the files. Ethan stops turning the wheel. The basement suddenly feels impossibly small around him. The storm above groans through the cabin beams while snow hammers the mountain outside like waves against a sinking ship. Noah's voice softens. He was guarding me. Ethan closes his eyes hard. Every memory rearranges itself instantly. The untouched jacket upstairs. The lantern burning outside. The fresh batteries. The footprints. Rex never left because Noah never left. The old shepherd stayed beside the hidden room for 10 years protecting the one person Ethan abandoned. Tears finally burn free down Ethan's face before he can stop them. He lowers his forehead briefly against the cold steel door while guilt crashes through him heavier than any battlefield memory ever could. I thought you were dead, he whispers. Silence follows. Then Noah answers quietly through the radio. That was the point. Ethan opens the steel hatch slowly. Warm air spills out carrying the scent of coffee, old paper, antiseptic, and candle smoke. Through the narrow opening he sees part of a dim hidden room beyond. Shelves, blankets, medical supplies, and then an eye looking back at him through the darkness. Noah's eye, older now, hollowed by years underground, but unmistakable. Ethan nearly collapses at the sight. Noah gives the faintest smile from inside the shadows. You got old. Ethan laughs once through the tears despite himself. Broken, disbelieving, human. For one impossible second the years disappear completely, and they are young again sitting beside a fire overseas arguing over terrible instant coffee while Rex slept between them. Then reality returns hard. Noah's face remains pale beneath the dim light. His beard streaked with gray now. One shoulder wrapped heavily beneath layers of thermal blankets. He looks less like a fugitive than a man who slowly disappeared from the world piece by piece. Rex whines softly and presses closer to the hatch. Noah lifts trembling fingers toward the opening and touches the shepherd's muzzle gently. The old dog closes his eyes instantly. Ethan has never seen devotion like that from another living creature. Rehook. Then Noah looks directly at Ethan again, and the warmth vanishes from his expression almost immediately. Fear replaces it. You should not have come tonight. Ethan wipes his face roughly. Mercer is outside. He said men are coming for the files. Noah nods slowly. Then we are out of time. Outside above them, a loud crash echoes through the cabin. One of the downstairs windows shatters against the storm. Rex jerks upright immediately, growling toward the ceiling. Noah flinches visibly at the sound. Ethan notices it at once. Not fear of intruders. Fear of being seen. Why stay hidden this long? Ethan asks desperately. Why not tell me? Noah stares at him through the hatch for a long moment before answering. Because somebody close to us betrayed the operation 10 years ago. Ethan feels the floor shift beneath him emotionally all over again. Mercer. Noah slowly shakes his head. No. Mercer saved my life. Upstairs, heavy footsteps move across the cabin floor now. Slow. Searching. Snow and freezing wind spilled down through the cracks in the basement ceiling while Rex's growl deepens lower and lower in his chest. Ethan grips the pistol automatically and steps closer to the hidden door protecting his brother. Noah watches him carefully from inside the dim room. I never blamed you for leaving, Noah says softly. But Rex did. Ethan's breath catches painfully. The old shepherd does not look at him. He remains fixed toward the ceiling, body trembling with exhaustion and loyalty that somehow survived an entire decade underground. Then Noah says the words that hollow Ethan completely from the inside out. Every winter he waited by the porch for you. Every single storm. Ethan looks at Rex finally. Really looks at him. The faded fur. The torn ear. the tired eyes that never stopped searching the mountain road all these years. And suddenly Ethan understands the true weight of what the old dog carried alone. Not just a secret. Hope. The footsteps above them move slowly across the cabin floorboards while the storm presses harder against the mountain outside. Snow leaks through the ceiling cracks in soft, drifting lines that melt against the warm basement air. Ethan stands between the hidden door and the staircase now, pistol lowered slightly, but his pulse still hammering hard beneath his ribs. Rex remains near Noah's hidden room, body tense despite exhaustion, ears fixed upward toward every sound overhead. Then Sheriff Mercer's voice carries faintly through the floorboards. Ethan, calm, controlled, but tired now. You have maybe 5 minutes before those men stop listening to me. Noah closes his eyes briefly from inside the hidden room. The years show heavily on his face in moments like this. Not just age, isolation. 10 winters buried beneath a collapsing cabin while the world moved on without him. Ethan kneels beside the hidden doorway and grips the cold steel hatch. Come with me, he says quietly. We leave tonight. Noah almost smiles at that. Almost. You still think this ends with driving away? Ethan feels the old frustration rise instinctively. The same tension that used to explode between them overseas when Noah chased risks Ethan feared would destroy them both. But before he can answer, Noah reaches slowly beneath his blanket and slides a small, weathered notebook through the hatch opening. Ethan takes it carefully. Every page is filled with names, dates, coordinates, transactions, proof connecting military contractors, local officials, transport companies, and offshore accounts stretching back nearly 15 years. Near the back page sits one final handwritten note in Noah's rough, uneven script. If anything happens to me, give this to Elias Rourke, Denver Federal Investigations. Ethan looks up sharply. You trusted the feds? Noah shakes his head weakly. I trusted one man. Upstairs, a loud slam echoes through the cabin. One of the men outside has entered. Rex instantly rises with a low growl rolling through his chest. Ethan hears muffled voices above them now. Boots crossing old floorboards. Furniture shifting. Searching. Mercer's voice cuts sharply through the noise. Stay out of the back room. Then another voice answers coldly. You protected this ghost long enough, Sheriff. Ethan feels Noah tense visibly behind the steel door. Grayson Holt, Noah whispers. Ethan remembers the name instantly from the files upstairs. Former defense contractor. Powerful. Untouchable. The kind of man who buried scandals beneath government silence and money. Rehook. Suddenly the basement lights flicker violently. Once. Twice. Then the generator coughs hard. Rex barks sharply toward the machine. Noah's face drains of color. They found the fuel line. Ethan rushes to the generator as the engine sputters unevenly. The room dims into weak, flickering gold. Above them, heavy footsteps pound directly overhead now. Closer. The old cabin groans beneath shifting weight and storm pressure together. Ethan kneels beside the generator and notices fresh snow blowing through a small bullet-sized puncture in the fuel hose near the wall. Deliberate sabotage. Fuel drips steadily across the concrete floor. Can you fix it? Noah asks quietly from behind the door. Ethan studies the damage quickly. Maybe for a few minutes. Noah gives a faint, tired nod. That is all we need. Ethan patches the line with trembling hands while Rex keeps watch toward the staircase. The old shepherd sways slightly now from exhaustion. Ethan notices for the first time how shallow Rex's breathing has become. The dog who survived 10 brutal winters guarding a hidden promise is finally running out of strength. Upstairs, voices rise suddenly into a heated argument. Then silence crashes down hard enough to make Ethan freeze completely. 1 second later comes the sound of a truck engine starting outside. Another follows. Headlights sweep briefly through the cracks overhead as vehicles begin backing away from the cabin. Ethan looks upward in disbelief. They are leaving? Noah shakes his head slowly behind the steel hatch. No. Mercer bought us time. The meaning lands heavily between them both. Ethan understands instantly. Whatever happened upstairs, the old sheriff chose a side at last. The generator steadies again with a low hum. Weak but alive. Ethan moves back toward Noah's hidden room while snow continues hissing against the mountain outside. Once daylight comes, we go to Denver, he says firmly. Together. Noah studies him quietly for a long moment through the hatch. Then his eyes drift toward Rex lying heavily across the basement floor now. The old shepherd watches both brothers with tired amber eyes reflecting the dim generator light. Noah reaches one trembling hand through the opening and rests it gently against Rex's scarred head. "He stayed alive long enough to bring you back," Noah whispers. Ethan feels his throat tighten painfully again. Rex closes his eyes beneath Noah's hand, as though the words themselves finally lifted something heavy from him after all these years. But then Noah says one final thing so softly Ethan almost misses it beneath the storm. "There is still one part of this story I never told you." Morning arrives slowly over Widow Creek like the mountain itself is reluctant to let the night go. The storm finally weakens near dawn, leaving the world buried beneath 3 feet of untouched snow glowing pale blue beneath the first cold light. Inside the hidden basement, the generator hums softer now, struggling against exhaustion much like everything else inside the cabin. Ethan sits beside Rex on the concrete floor with one hand buried deep in the old shepherd's fur, while Noah sleeps behind the steel door for the first time in nearly 20 hours. Real sleep this time. Not survival. Not listening for footsteps overhead. Peaceful enough that Ethan barely recognizes his brother anymore. The notebook containing all of Noah's evidence rests beside Ethan's boot, wrapped carefully in oilcloth. By noon, if the road's clear enough, they will leave for Denver. They will tell the truth, or at least the parts of it the world is willing to hear. But for now, the mountain remains silent except for the soft, uneven breathing beside him. Rex is breathing. Ethan looks down slowly. The old dog's amber eyes stay fixed on the hidden room door, even in exhaustion. Waiting. Still guarding. Ethan feels guilt settle inside him all over again. Quieter now, but somehow heavier. "You kept your promise better than I did," he whispers. Rex blinks slowly at the sound of Ethan's voice. Then, for the first time since Ethan returned to the cabin, the old shepherd rests his head gently across Ethan's knee. Forgiveness. Simple as that. Ethan lowers his hand against Rex's scarred neck and closes his eyes briefly while memories drift through him like snowfall. Rex as a young K9 charging through desert dust beside Noah. Rex sleeping beside the wood stove during Montana winters before everything fell apart. Rex waiting on the porch every storm-filled night for a truck that never came back up the mountain. 10 years is too long for anything to wait. Especially hope. Rehook. A soft metallic sound suddenly breaks the silence. Ethan opens his eyes and notices something hanging loosely beneath Rex's collar. An old brass key tied carefully into the leather with faded fishing line. Ethan frowns. He has never seen it before. Slowly he unties the small key and studies it beneath the weak basement light. Tiny numbers engraved near the handle. Storage Unit 214. Billings. Ethan looks toward the steel room instantly. Noah appears weakly at the hatch opening moments later, eyes still heavy with exhaustion. When he sees the key in Ethan's hand, something unreadable crosses his face. Not surprise. Sadness. "I forgot he still carried that," Noah says quietly. Ethan rises slowly. "What is it for?" Noah studies Rex for a long moment before answering. "The last thing Mercer ever gave me." Ethan's stomach tightens immediately. "Mercer?" Noah nods faintly. "After the operation collapsed, Mercer hid copies of everything. Insurance. He said if anything happened to him, the truth should survive somewhere. Beyond this mountain." Ethan looks toward the basement ceiling instinctively. Sheriff Mercer never came back downstairs after the men left during the storm. Ethan already knows what that probably means. Some sacrifices do not need witnesses to feel real. Noah leans weakly against the steel doorway now, older and more fragile in daylight somehow. "Mercer used to say people disappear twice," he murmurs. "First their bodies, then the memory of who they were." Ethan grips the brass key tighter. "And the storage unit?" Noah gives a tired half-smile. "Maybe answers. Maybe more ghosts." Rex slowly struggles to his feet beside Ethan then, legs trembling badly beneath him. The effort alone looks painful now. Yet he turns toward the basement stairs with sudden determination. Ethan kneels quickly beside him. "Easy, boy." But Rex keeps staring upward toward the cabin above, toward the porch, toward the mountain road beyond it. The old shepherd begins climbing the stairs, slowly one step at a time, despite his failing strength. Ethan and Noah exchange one silent look before following him upward. The cabin above is quiet now. Gray daylight spills softly through broken windows across drifting snow and ruined floorboards. Rex crosses the room carefully and stops beside the front door. His breathing has become shallow again. Ethan opens the door slowly. Cold mountain air floods inside, carrying the clean scent of pine, ash, and fresh snow. Outside, the storm has left the world untouched and endless beneath the pale winter sky. Rex steps onto the porch where he waited all those years and lowers himself gently into the snow, facing the road down the mountain. Waiting one last time. Ethan kneels beside him while Noah leans weakly against the doorway behind them, wrapped in blankets. None of them speak for a while. There is nothing left to say that matters more than this moment. Then Rex lifts his head slightly toward Ethan. The old shepherd's tired eyes soften. Peaceful now. Certain. And somewhere deep in the distant forest below, through the silence of the snow-covered pines, a truck engine suddenly echoes faintly up the mountain road. In the frozen mountains of Montana, a battle-worn Marine returns to a ruined family cabin and discovers that his loyal German shepherd has been guarding a terrifying secret for 10 long years. As a brutal snowstorm traps them deep in the wilderness, the former Marine uncovers hidden evidence, buried memories, and a heartbreaking truth connected to his missing brother and a powerful conspiracy nobody wanted exposed. This emotional cinematic journey blends mystery, loyalty, redemption, and survival into one of the most unforgettable animal stories ever told. Through abandoned rooms, hidden tunnels, flickering lanterns, and the silent devotion of an aging K9, the Marine slowly realizes the dog was never protecting a place, but protecting a promise that refused to die. Filled with suspense, emotional twists, deep family bonds, and haunting winter atmosphere, this story is perfect for fans of animal stories, heartfelt military dramas, loyal dog tales, and emotional storytelling with powerful open endings. The old German shepherd becomes the soul of the story as he waits through endless winters for the one man who never came home, creating one of the most emotional animal stories about loyalty and forgiveness. With cinematic narration, hidden truths, and unforgettable emotional payoff, this mountain mystery delivers the kind of slow-burn tension and spiritual depth viewers love in powerful animal stories. As secrets rise from beneath the cabin floor and the truth finally comes into the light, the Marine must confront the guilt he carried for a decade while the faithful K9 fights to hold on to hope just long enough to reunite two broken brothers. Emotional, suspenseful, and deeply human, this is one of those rare animal stories that stays with you long after the final scene fades into silence.